Welcome to Paradigm Shift, the podcast where we break down the latest in low code. I'm your host, Jon, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Scott. And this week, it's all about the dads, baby. It's Father's Day this weekend, so we are talking about nothing but fatherhood this episode. How am I going to relate it to low code? I have zero idea, but hopefully we get there. So, without further ado, let's get into it. We're both dads, and I want to just talk about what we've learned from being a dad, how that's changed us. 'Cause I know things have changed for me a lot, and one of those things was, I don't know if this is true for you. I don't know if it's because I'm just getting older, but I just cry a lot more. Is that true for you as well?
I was a big crier even before we had
Okay,
kids. But
so it's in your DNA.
every movie,
I was not.
like the really sad scene from The Land Before Time gets me every time.
Mm-hmm.
I do, yeah, I definitely have more emotions, I think, on a daily basis than I did before kids. There's just like, I mean, it's like, man, yeah, there's just so much to be excited about or sad about. I mean, it's not sad, but it's just like so recently our son, his name's Arthur, is he's walking and talking, and you're just like, oh man, you remember those days when he used to just cuddle in your lap? He doesn't do that anymore. So there's like, yeah, there's definitely a whole range of emotions. And I think there's just a lot of things that trigger those kinds of emotional responses now.
I look at my kids' feet. I say this all the time. I look at my kids' feet and I'm like, when did you get adult feet? What happened? They used to be just baby feet.
Yeah.
Because it's easy when you look at their face like every day, and like things are slowly changing. So each day you're getting accumulated to their changes. But then when like all of a sudden look at their feet and you're like, what the heck happened? Like these just look like adult feet. Like when did you grow up?
Yeah.
I also think about fatherhood more now than I did ever before, just with running our own business. I think about, well, before when when you're a younger man, I was not unconcerned with my future, but always sure that I'd land on my feet somehow.
Right.
I as I got myself a family and got myself kids, I find myself thinking about that more and more, of future planning and worrying about providing for them and doing a good job for them. What was it like growing up in the Perkins household? What was your dad like? What did he do?
Yeah. No, that's a good question. My dad, um, he's a land development consultant, so he worked on developing residential communities. Basically, there's a big community that he was leading the development of down in south side of Denver. Yeah, so that's what I remember doing with my dad growing up, is driving out to his job site, going and looking at the construction equipment, like grading the roads and bouncing around in his 4x4 truck, driving around on these areas of land that he was consulting on to do the land development. So he was self-employed for most of his later career. So he ran his own business, and that was, it's like always a little bit inspiring when you see your dad. I think that was definitely some of my inspiration for starting this business, or wanting to run a business. Is having a father that did that. Yeah, so that's my dad's career. He loves woodworking. That was also a lot of things that I appreciate about remember doing with my dad, is learning how to run the table saw, learning how to run the chop saw, learning how to use a hammer, all those kinds of things. My dad was always my dad is still really, he's still very handy around the house.
My dad too, I think, had a number of passions that he never, I don't know if, I'm not going to say this is true of your dad, but my dad had a bunch of interests and passions that he never got to, I think, fully explore. It's so funny because he had been into like tinkering and things. He was a computer guy, and my mom told me one day when I was like a teenager that my dad wanted to, he had like dreams of doing stained glass windows. I was like, what? You're talking about the same dad, right? Like I had no ideas. It's just, but it puts a point on the fact that dads put parents put a lot on hold.
Yeah.
Selfishly growing up, I thought, oh, I want to do that differently. I want to make sure that I don't put myself, my passions and my priorities on hold for my family, um, because I saw it as a not a worthwhile compromise. Of course, everything has changed, but still, I think both of us are in a position where we're pursuing our dreams. We've started our own company. We're running our own company and trying to manage also our own families.
Yeah, I think it changes. I think, one of the things that we talked about before having children, my wife and I, is we didn't want to just be parents. You see a lot of people that they have the kids and then it's just like their life is spent
Hmm.
being parents and they don't have any interests or time that they do their interests anymore. Um, yeah, and I think, so our son now is about a year and a half. And I think the first half of the year we were just in like survival mode, just trying to figure out how do we, keep this baby alive and keep him happy and healthy. But after that now, I mean, we've gotten back in a cycle now where I feel like we are doing those things that we like to do. And for us, a lot of that is just spending time outside, camping and hiking. We used to do a lot of mountain biking together, and now we do a lot of like gravel biking together where we throw out Arthur in the trailer and kind of drag him along behind us. So like the activities that we like to do have changed a little bit, but we're still like I don't feel like I'm not being true to my passions or my interests anymore. It's just they look a little bit different, and we have to kind of maybe accommodate a little bit more. We have to make sure that we accommodate Arthur a little more on our adventures, but we're still getting out there and doing stuff.
In a feeble attempt to somehow tie this to software development, how has being a dad, if at all, changed the way that you work or what you think about when you work?
Mm. So, yeah, I mean, I think one of the things that I am super grateful for in my work is being able to work remotely. I think not just for being a dad, but I think it works very well with my personality. I'm super introverted, and so being around groups of people is pretty exhausting. Um, but also being able to work remotely means that I get to have, little interactions with my son throughout the day. Maybe it's just going out to get a cup of coffee and I get to see him, or um, the thought of going, I mean, like the thought my the thought of going to an office every day and being away from the family is a lot harder now. I mean, um, I don't know what the future holds, but that definitely holds a lot more weight now that remote work is even more important, I think, to me than it was before. And just being able to have those, small interactions with the family during the day.
A couple of the things that I think about more often is just the way that I work, and I've thought about this for a while, for a number of years now, since I've been a dad. Is I often think about what I want to convey to my children. What do I want to teach them? And more specifically, am I really leading by example? And so when that comes to like writing code, for example, I think about, am I doing things in a way that I would be proud of, that I would be proud that my children would be doing? Like, am I putting in the effort? Am I cutting corners? Am I living up to what I'm preaching on what you should do to be a good developer or a good man or a good person? And those little things that they will never see probably, but are a part of my craft that I use my kids as motivation to always do better. There's a quote, Ryan Holiday, great book that he has called "Oh Daily Dad." He's Ryan Holiday's a great author, by the way. He's a Stoic modern philosopher too. And there's these just passages for like just daily dad meditations. And the other day had a common quote. It's how we do anything is how we do everything, and that resonated with me just because I think about, okay, am I doing things in a way that I would want my kids to see, and also myself to see. And so I think about it a lot. I think about, hey, what am I doing today that they're going to be proud of? Or really, everything that I feel like I'm doing today is really for them in the future.
Yeah. I think kids start to pick up on behavioral habits of yours, or of the people around them much earlier than I think we give them credit for. Um, I'm not the most organized and clean person that the world has ever seen, but I want to instill those habits in my children, right? I mean, it's just
Mhm.
like something that I think is really valuable and beneficial to have. Is like, oh, like you always make your bed, you always like pick up your dishes, these kinds of things. Um, and so part of it is just a lesson of like, how can I like fix these bad habits in myself so I can be, the shining example to my children of what I think is important. Because I think like kids know when you
Mhm.
diverge what you're saying from what you're actually doing. Um, and I think I'm already starting to see some of that in Arthur. Yeah, he's just a little sponge right now.
What was your relationship like with your dad, if you don't mind sharing? Did you look up to him? Did he
Yeah, of course. I mean, my
mentor you?
dad, yeah, 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 he definitely did. Yeah, my dad, one thing that I do want to learn from watching my dad is how to balance work with your family. My dad was a bit of a workaholic. He worked a lot. I mean, and that sometimes can be an easy habit to fall into when you're running your own business. And he was also, so like, he was on his own. He didn't have any business partners that he could rely on because he was running the business himself. Um, but yeah, I mean, of course, I looked up to. I just wish that I had more time that we did things together. That's like the biggest thing that I want to make sure that I'm keenly aware of with my family and my son is it's just like the simple things, like hanging out on a camping trip or going on a bike ride together, or um, yeah. That being said, though, I did learn a ton from my dad. I mean, like the skills that I have for being able to operate power tools, and um, being handy, and being able to work on cars, and all of these things. I mean, I learned initially from my dad. My dad was always really good with working with his hands. So um, yeah, I mean, I think that, and more to your point too, what you're talking about, like, what does it mean to be a man? I mean, I still remember very, very clearly, like, my dad, his like number one virtue was, of course, kindness and honesty. Like, I remember, um, examples of realizing that say you didn't pay for something at the grocery store, like maybe the checker forgot to check something out. He was the kind of person that would not get to the car and say, oh great, we got this free 6 pack of soda or whatever it would be. No, we're going to go back, we're going to tell the cashier that they made a mistake, and we're going to pay for the things that we got. um, and I think that's like that, those kinds of virtues were some of the most valuable things that I think I learned growing up with my dad and yeah, my family.
Takeaways that I get, I hold that I got from my dad was just that. Well, I have a great appreciation for what he gave us. I mean, my house was chaotic at times, but just we had there was I'm one of four kids, which isn't a lot compared to other families, but I think it was at times more than my parents could handle. And but my dad always made sure that he provided for us, and that was something that I only appreciate as I get older. And some it's one of my main priorities. And I know how he would come home and he'd working long hours and come home irritated, sometimes short on patience with us crazy kids. And I don't blame him because we were a total I was just totally didn't listen, didn't do well at school, was totally defiant. And as were my siblings in their own way. So I can't really fault him for going off the handle. It's funny looking back now because he's just like he was overworked, probably overstressed
Yeah.
on work and finances, and so it's totally understandable. But and now he's just like kind of just this harmless, old man.
It seems to happen. My wife Sarah tells
every
me the
does
same
every
thing about her dad.
does every dad just kind of just transform into this like the guy from Up, like
Yeah. Uh, I see myself going that way maybe as time. Yeah. I feel like there's always the scary dad when you get in trouble, I think when you're younger. But
yeah,
grandkids just soften them right out, I think.
no, yeah, there would always be you. For us it'd be like you would hear the garage open at like 6 o'clock when dad's home. You're like, everyone's like, oh shit, dad's home. It would just goes hide, because we are all due for a talking to.
Mm,
But he provided for us,
yeah.
and I love him for that. you
Yeah.
know
Yeah, certainly. No, that was the same with my dad and my family. Did you so like I'm just curious to hear about your sort of like how did you divide work and finances or financial responsibility in your family when you were growing up? Was it like, I mean, did you have a stay-at-home mom? Did your mom work part-time, full-time?
Yeah, my mom's was mostly stay-at-home mom. However, she did have some like side jobs. I remember she would go work at night sometimes. Um, she was like she got a job as a kiosk at a mall selling Beanie Babies, and me and my siblings loved it because she would bring us home Beanie Babies, and that was like peak Beanie Baby craze.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and I used to like try and stay up so I could be awake when she got home, and she'd
Yeah.
just bring a Beanie Baby. Um, but but overall, so my dad, I think around .com bust, lost his job. He worked for a projector company called InFocus. I don't know if they're still around. Um, and when we were living in Oregon, lost his job and was out of work for what seemed like years. Could have been shorter, but it seemed like a long time. But time kind of warps when you're younger. But finances were a big just struggle, and that might be why my mom got an extra job. But I remember it being a stress point
Yeah.
between but between us, and not directly. Like I think we were fairly insulated in the details, but you knew and could hear, like, oh, we're tightening our budget, or my dad would do his trademark sayings that I still remember, like, he'd get like mad, or you're like, God, why are you guys using so much toilet paper?
Yeah.
And we were just in the bathroom, just like, just we were taking toilet paper, we were TPing, we were just doing I
Yeah.
remember my dad would be like, lecturing us on like, okay, how much shampoo do you use? And we are like that much? And then he'd be like, no, you got to use like a nickel's worth. And I was like, okay, nothing changed in our behavior, but I do remember that.
Yeah, that's funny.
Did you struggle? Was there any part when your family struggled?
I mean, definitely. I mean, if I think about, I was in high school, but in 2008 when the housing market kind of crashed, that was rough.
Hmm.
Being in land
Yeah.
development with my dad. But I think at that point, I don't think I was. Well, I guess I was still probably a financial burden, but not I think in the same way that you are when you're in the house. Yeah, but very similar. My dad was like the sole breadwinner for the household. My mom did work. She was a home ec teacher basically. She actually taught at the same junior high school that I went to, which was not very cool. Um, not a way to be one of the cool kids, I guess, when you're in junior high, when your mom teaches at the school. But yeah. That was how they structured their finances.
Yeah, we had like I mean when my dad lost his job, I remember thinking I mean a couple things afterwards, well afterwards of just wondering, how could I avoid that as as when I become an adult.
Hmm.
I got the sense that my dad didn't just wasn't maybe didn't network, maybe didn't socialize as much as other people did. We knew some people, family friends, who were like more about networking and
Hmm.
connections and things. And I do wonder if that played a part in the difficulty in getting another job, or just just the market was trash, which it probably was as well. But that's one thing that I've made a conscious effort in trying to do different, and making sure that I make connections and
Yeah.
keep up with people, and maintaining a personal and professional network. And because it is all about, that's one thing that I've learned being an adult. It's largely about who you know when it
Yeah.
comes to success. There's a number of people who make it professionally all on their own, but they are definitely the exceptions. And for the most part, what determines your success, and however you quantify success, which is professional success, is monetarily, impact, power, those you get to those positions based on usually who you know and who's supporting you.
Yeah.
And it starts in like college, and goes on from there.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that there's definitely a lot of truth to that. I think, the thing that I try to network as much as possible and keep up with the people that I've worked with in the past, but I also try to continually like diversify the skill sets that I have at hand, right? And so it's like, if I think of, okay, I worked as a auto mechanic when I was younger. I still remember how to work on cars. I could always I could always go, back to work on cars if that needed if I needed to do that. I got my EMT certification when I was younger too, so I have a little bit of experience doing that. But yeah, I think that like if you're putting yourself in the role of provider, you kind of have to think of your skill sets as an investment. You want to diversify and make sure that you're not just pigeonholed in one. Spot where if a particular part of the economy tanks, you're um, pigeonholed into that realm.
I might just have strange thoughts. That wouldn't surprise me if that's true. But what do you say? Do you ever think about if you're like on your deathbed and you have a chance to talk to your kids for a short amount of time? What would you want to make sure that you conveyed to them?
I mean, of course, like I love you, right? That's
Yeah,
like the
yeah.
most
Other
important
than
part,
right, right.
right? But
Yeah, 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 yeah.
I don't know, right? I mean, I think one of the things that I like, and I don't know if it's just getting older or being a father, but it seems like when you're younger, time is just like this infinite resource. Like you just like there's times in my life where I'm just like, how can I, I think back and I'm like, yeah, I wasted so much time um, doing things that were not important or doing things that were, literally a waste of time, sleeping all day and these kinds of things. Um, I think as I get older, I realize, and I think part of it's watching Arthur grow up. But there's just like, man, there's only so much time that I have to do all the things that I want to do. And it's just like, seems like it just is like rolling by. And I think I don't know, that's the resource that I want to instill in my children is the most valuable resource you have, right? Is your time. And so just be careful with what you do trading that for, right? Whether it's money, whether it's recreation, just like make sure that the things that you're doing with your time are valuable. Because you only have, you can always make more money. You can always you know, yeah, anyway. Yeah, but you only have a very limited amount of time.
Becomes ever more apparent the older that we get. You're right. When I was a kid, a summer, you get off of school,
Infinite,
and like a summer
infinite amount of
felt
time.
like
Yeah.
just, yeah, infinite. And now summer is like a blip. And I don't really know what I would tell my kids either when I'm, on my deathbed. outside of other than, of course I love you, but there's I of course I hope I don't need to say anything on my deathbed. I hope I said
Yeah.
it to them throughout their lives. Um I I think, like, in so many words, trying to encourage them to just to be a good person and to define that for them, what is a good person? I want them to I want to encourage them to show courage with whatever they're doing. That's something that I'm always thinking about, is even when they're younger, like right
Hmm.
now. My 2-year-old is doing, just they're just off exploring, and I really want her to, like, to show courage to be like, to do something she's afraid of. That
Yeah.
gives me, like, that's one of the peak happiness moments, when you see them struggling with something, like they're gonna climbing, they're like, they pause, like they look at you and like, no, I'm scared. And then, like, she's like, Dad, I'm scared. Like, I need help. I can't do it. And I go, you can do it. And then and you see this, like, determined look in her face, like, okay. And like, she, on one
Yeah.
hand, there's nothing more beautiful than somebody just showing you complete trust.
Yeah.
Like, okay, like, I trust you. And then two, there's also nothing more beautiful than your children learning to trust themselves and to conquer something that's scary for them. That's ultimate parent moment for me.
Yeah. I
And
think,
go
go
ahead.
ahead. I was gonna say, I think the one of the skills that I wish I had when I was younger is like learning to appreciate being uncomfortable or pushing yourself out of your comfort zone. Um, and I think that is like something that I really want to instill in. So lessons, yeah, lessons that that I'd want to reiterate to my children would be, yeah, like it's okay to be uncomfortable. It's okay to be afraid of change, but embrace it. I mean, I feel like that the best paths that I've had in my life have been through sort of, what I would call somewhat chaotic periods of my life where I was like, I have no idea what I'm doing, but I want to go pursue something different and it's uncomfortable at the time. Um, and I think you see people, I think there are a lot of people in the world who do like if you just like if you are always just pursuing like the comfortable path, there's limited opportunity for growth, I think, in your life, in lots of different ways, career, personal. Um, so that's definitely something that I feel like I should have done more when I was younger, and something I want to instill in my kids.
Me as well, definitely. I've just had so much regret as a kid, not, like, just kind of hating myself after, like, why couldn't I just show more courage to do, why was I so
Mm,
afraid to make that leap or to do said thing, especially a lot of things socially.
hmm
And always thinking later after the fact, like, okay, next time I'm not going to do that. I'm not
hmm
going to do that. And then getting in this situation like that again, and then chickening out again. And then, like, the cycle continues. And so, like, I carry that with me, and I'm even ashamed to say, like, with my eldest Bryn, who's 10, like, she can be very afraid to do certain things, especially social things, or just has some anxiety to do things and that are scary.
hmm
And I get I it get like, I really want her to not do what I did when I was a kid. Sometimes I get frustrated, and I get, that comes out as like, oh, like, just do it, like, and it's coming from a place where really I want her to not be like I was when I was a
hmm
child. But I do, feel ashamed often that it's coming out more as like this, like, more about emotions of, like, disappointment or hate that of myself and frustration. So it doesn't really sound supportive, but I 100% hear what you're saying. The regrets is what kills people. I think, also, I want to encourage my kids to learn, to always be learning,
hmm
and I'm
Yeah.
sure you do too, because
Yeah.
you learn a lot. You've done a lot of things.
I
You
have
just
done a lot of things. Yeah.
mentioned one of them, EMT. You're a
Yeah.
pilot, for those that don't know.
Yeah, that's the new thing. That's the new thing that has been keeping me really yeah, occupied with learning. I just I feel, and I hope that this is something that I don't know. I don't know if it's a learned behavior or if it's some of these things that are sort of instilled into you. Because I don't think my parents necessarily had the same like cherished place in their heart for learning new things. But for me, it's it's really important to be. And I think as I'm getting older, it's become more and more important to be uncomfortable, get myself out of my comfort zone, and learn new things. And I think when I see that same kind of behavior in Arthur, I just want to like cultivate that, right? I mean, he's like right now he's like really into blocks and shapes and making sure that the right block goes in the right shape. I'm just like, yes, yes, learn that. Get really into the blocks. And then after you get really into the blocks, you'll get really into the music box or things like that. And I just there's like such a vast amount of things that you can learn in your lifetime, and so I just like hope that Arthur finds that joy and just like always finding the next thing to dig into, because it's yeah, for me it's been really satisfying.
Yeah, totally. I would love it if my kids were like, "Yeah, I want to be like a software developer. Can you teach me?" And I'm like, oh, "Yes, of course. I've been waiting for you to ask." Or at least just to get into problem solving, be really good at problem solving. So
Yeah.
and that could apply to anything that's creative where you're using your mind. Um, I got Bryn, like a Sudoku book, like just do like Sudokus and see where that takes you, and just to kind of hope that she's like interested in problem solving like that.
Yeah. I think you have to be interested in or you have to be introduced to those kinds of things to find an appreciation for them when you're young. Yeah, and I hope the same. I'm trying to think of like what got me interested in puzzles or problem solving. I can't even remember. Legos. That was my that
Hmm.
was like I don't know if that was I just remember being really into Legos when I was in elementary school. So, building things.
Is there any other ways that being a dad has changed you?
I'm sure there are. I think I don't know if I would say I'm more patient, but I definitely just like the time that I spend with Arthur is definitely like I mean if you put it at face value, it's boring, right? You're just like hanging out on the floor playing with blocks. And I think what has changed is I just like appreciate like not I don't know if I would say not doing anything, but not doing things that necessarily feel productive. I think previously like I always had to have something to be doing, and I would always have to feel like I was like using my time wisely and like I don't know, building something with that time or learning something in that time. And now it's like now I just like find like so much value in just like hanging out with Arthur. I think that's definitely changed. Just being more comfortable not doing things or not, always having to feel like I'm doing something. So I think that's definitely changed.
Um, I'm not being paid by Ryan Holiday, but I'm going to mention him again because he has this concept of he's mentioned this before on called garbage time. And it is the most meaningful moments that you have with your kids is usually in the garbage time. So
Mhm.
it's not when you're at Disneyland. It's not, although that's really fun. It's not like, on what you think of are the prototypical big life moments, graduation, etc. But are really in the drives to school.
Mhm.
They're my favorite time with Bryn, or I don't pick her up from school anymore, but I'm sorry, not with Bryn, but with Ever, is when I would pick her up from daycare.
Mhm.
And it'd be just us driving home.
Yeah.
And I would usually go to like McDonald's or something, or to make a stop somewhere, but just this what's garbage time, or playing in her room,
Yeah.
just like right before bed, like just you're just playing with. I'm not even really playing. I'm just sitting there watching her playing. Like she's just like playing, just seeing her interact with things and like seeing her like her focus and things. Just being present in that garbage time, I
Yeah.
I think is the best.
Yeah. I I think it can be hard to balance that sometimes because what I find and I find that just being more comfortable not being plugged into my, some piece of technology, right? I think that's what I found is really valuable. Like, so I have Fridays. Those are my days with Arthur when I get to hang out with him, and that's our one-on-one time. Um, but just, being present in those moments where, it's easy to like, oh, what's going on at work? What's going on with our emails? Like, have we gotten a follow-up for that thing that we asked? It's really easy to get sucked into that, and next thing you know, like an hour's gone by and Arthur's just there hanging out by himself. Um, yeah, I think that's something that I've been trying to work on and change is being a father is just like being present in those garbage time moments, right? It's easy to fill that with distractions, um, but just trying to be present while you have those opportunities.
I try to do that more and more of just try to put my phone away and try to be intentional about not having my phone. I did do a terrible job at it though.
Yeah, yeah, it's
It's
hard.
hard. It's really hard to just break that muscle memory of just like checking your phone.
Hmm.
Um, but it really is wonderful when you're just totally present. And you just pick up on things too. Like I feel like they're just the kids realize it. They know they're totally I think they sense when you're closed off and the offer things up more when you're present with them. I didn't really I didn't I can't count that many times where like I was just me and my dad just I mean back then we didn't sound like we had phones or anything but like
Sure,
just present time with your dad. I mean I went fishing a couple times.
sure. Yeah, I remember some, like you were saying, some of those kinds of trips, fishing trips and things like that. So yeah, it's I think what I want to instill though is those like so growing up, like, I think it sounds like it was similar in your house. Like my mom was always the caregiver, right? She, like, when you get home from school, she was
Mhm.
always the one making snacks, she was the one making dinner. She was always the one that I had those like garbage time moments with, where you're just doing the normal day-to-day things. I definitely want to make sure that I, as a father, have an opportunity to have those same kind of moments, where it's hanging out together on our days that we have together and making lunch and going on hikes together and um, just like on a normal weekly basis, those kinds of moments. So that's something that I've definitely wanted to prioritize as a dad, is having those, that time blocked off for just the two of us.
I've heard some like anecdotal truth is probably not true at all, but I've heard this that moms um, get kind of they obviously they're tied to children from the get go, and and experience at a certain point the kids moving away from the mom when they're well after breastfeeding, but uh, the and then the dad so by the time the kids are going to school often like that's when like dads like feel this like abandonment that the mom had
Mm.
like already felt. um Again, anecdotal truth, I don't know if there's really any truth to it at all, but something to
Yeah, I'm not there
think
yet. We
about.
haven't gotten
Oh, he's not in college yet.
no, we haven't sent him.
He's getting ready.
But I
Are you
will
touring?
say, no, no. But I will say, like, I think the attachment of being a father is different initially. I mean, like, of course, like, I this new human being is here, and I definitely felt attached to him from day one. But I think as I watch him kind of progress of becoming like a human, um, I'm definitely like the attachment for me, like grows through I think more the relationship that I'm building with him. And there wasn't this like biological attachment like from the get-go. So I think, I mean, like, if I think about that, how I will feel trying to put myself in the shoes of a father who's taking his kids to school for the first time, I think that makes sense. I think that would be a very, very hard time. And I know just from watching my wife go through that period of weaning Arthur off of breastfeeding time, it's yeah, I mean, I think that has been a pretty tough feeling of sort of detachment from that relationship that they had. Yeah.
Both all of my kids were different from me. I mean, Ever was the first like born that I had, and I wasn't sure what to expect. So there's a lot of anticipation, tentative excitement, and fear about what was going to happen, because I didn't know, and I had heard just so many stories, accounts of like, wow, having your own kid is just going to be life changing for you. And so, like
Yeah.
on one, the expectations were high, and and but also a little scary that in thinking like, well, what if it's not? What if
Yeah.
it's what what if I don't love my kid, or what if I
Yeah.
don't,
Yeah.
what if it's just different for me? So there's that fear there as
Sure.
well. But forever it was just it was life changing for me, like from the moment she was born, and not just in a logistical way, but in like this emotional connection way. Emotionally for me, it's just I was a wreck. And Odin, my most recent, was not that same way, and I think because I had been through it before.
Mm.
But it just wasn't like, just this like opening of a Pandora's box when he was born. It was just like, okay, cool, he's here. Um, but it's been kind of, but in the beginning, of course, it was just, him and mom's show.
Yeah.
But now,
Yeah.
like, we're just kind of, you know, we're sneaking little smiles at each other, and so like, I mean, and how do you not look at a baby when if they smile at you? Like, how do you not just feel that, you know?
You know the thing that like got to me kind of on that same track. I don't know if you like heard anyone or talked to anyone that's just like, "Oh my God, having a baby, you're just gonna love absolutely every second of it. Like every second of being with that baby is gonna be so special." And then there was definitely times when I was like, it's 3 a.m., you're changing a poopy diaper, the baby's screaming, you're like, this is terrible. I'm not having a good time. I hate this. And I was just like, am I broken? Am I, and it's just like I think
Yeah.
you realize that just like it's okay to like not be overjoyed in the moment. But yeah, so if you are fresh having a kid, you will have moments that are really hard, and that's totally normal. I wish somebody would have told me that. I don't think I heard that enough.
They are kids are totally overhyped and totally underrated at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, yeah, no, there's plenty about having kids that I love to complain about. I love talking shit on my kids. It's like having like your, in some ways, like your sports team. It's like, yeah, it's like I could talk crap about like the bad parts of my team, but like I absolutely there's no better feeling than seeing my team succeed,
Mm.
and the highs that you get from your own team. So like my kids are kind of the same way. Like I love them to death, but there's situations where I'm just like, this absolutely sucks. This is this is crap. Being in a car when everyone's just crying and screaming. Ugh.
Yeah, I could see that as being one of
Being
the.
out in public with your kids when they're having a meltdown. Oh my god. Going to a restaurant and just throwing shit. Oh Jesus.
Yeah, yeah, of
But I love them. I love them to death.
course.
So I think we can cap it here. Just a couple of fathers talking about fatherhood. I apologize if you tuned in thinking that somehow we were going to relate this to low code or software development. I did my best for a second. I won't even say my best. I tried for a second, but this is just kind of a special bonus episode about fatherhood for Father's Day. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let us know what it's like being a father for you. Let us know down in the comments, and tell your dad that you appreciate them and that you love them if they're still around. I know that they'll appreciate that because I would. And before I forget, as always, we have two events coming up. Next month, July 18th, Friday, July 18th, in Denver, Colorado, we are holding a meetup, a MENDIX meetup. So please come. I will post the meetup link again with the episode, but we'd love to see you there. It's from, I believe, 5:30 p.m. to 8. We'll be doing a demo on automated QA and it's going to be really cool. We'd love to see you there. So please come if you're in Colorado. Second is the big one, which is the MENDIX Capture the Flag. It's going to be a giant event. I'm going to get tired of saying this, but it's going to be the biggest event of the year, bigger than as the biggest thing that's happened since MENDIX World. So, and that's happening, if you're in the US, that's happening in Hollywood, October 9th and 10th. I want to make sure that I didn't mess that up, because last episode I messed that up and Mitchell was kind enough to tell me publicly I messed that up. So it's October 9th and 10th. That's the Capture the Flag event, and we're hosting it in Hollywood. It's going to be off the chain. Spots are filling up, though. We only have a limited number of spots available. It's a hybrid event, so you could participate online, but you're going to get way more out of it doing it in person. So I highly recommend go register mendix.com/CTF. Make sure that's lowercase, because I tried uppercase. I don't think that works. So mendix.com/CTF to register, and we hope to see you there. So that's the show for us, everybody. I hope you have a wonderful Father's Day, and we will catch you next week. See ya.